The Great Purge swept across the galaxy like a silent, invisible storm. Entire civilizations crumbled, leaving behind ghostly remnants of once thriving worlds. The Tholian Empire, a race of beings as cold and unfeeling as the crystalline structures they resembled, unleashed a bioweapon of unparalleled devastation. Countless species, some barely having achieved spaceflight, others with histories spanning millennia, fell before this merciless onslaught. Laros, a Tholian scientist, watched in horror as his own people systematically eradicated all life they encountered. His crystalline form vibrated with disgust and fear as he made the decision to defect. With critical information about the bioweapon stored in his molecular structure, Laros fled towards a planet that had yet to feel the Tholians' wrath, Earth. As Laros's ship entered Earth's atmosphere, the planet's defenses instantly detected the alien craft. Thomas Hill, a high-ranking official in Earth's Extraterrestrial Defense Force, EDF, was alerted immediately. He watched from a command center as the ship was intercepted and brought down in a remote location. Hours later, Thomas stood face to face with the crystalline being. The interrogation room hummed with tension as Laros, his form shimmering under harsh lights, began to speak. Words tumbled out in a cascade of terror and urgency, painting a picture of galactic genocide that chilled Thomas to his core. Thomas's mind raced. Humanity had long prepared for first contact, but not like this, not as the last hope for a dying galaxy. He activated his comlink, his voice steady despite the weight of this new knowledge. Initiate Project Phoenix Priority Alpha. Within hours, Earth's defenses mobilized on an unprecedented scale. Scientists were roused from their beds, military personnel scrambled to their stations, and government leaders convened in emergency sessions. The EDF, once considered a paranoid excess by some, now stood as humanity's first and last line of defense. Thomas found himself at the helm of Project Phoenix, a dual-pronged initiative aimed at creating a cure for the Tholian bioweapon and devising a strategy to strike back at the aggressors. He worked tirelessly alongside Laros, extracting every scrap of intelligence about Tholian technology and weaknesses. As Earth prepared, the galaxy burned. Refugees from fallen civilizations arrived in increasing numbers, each bringing tales more horrifying than the last. Their stories of worlds turned to ash and species, snuffed out like candles in a storm, only heightened the urgency of Earth's preparations. In orbital shipyards, Earth's space fleet underwent rapid retrofitting. Experimental shields hummed to life, powered by theories barely out of the realm of science fiction. Weapons systems designed to combat threats humanity had only imagined in nightmares were hastily integrated into sleek hulls. A network of early warning satellites blossomed throughout the solar system, silent sentinels watching for the coming storm. And then, on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, they saw it. Long-range sensors lit up, detecting a massive Tholian armada entering the outskirts of the solar system. The enemy had arrived, intent on adding humanity to its list of conquered species. But humanity stood ready. In labs and shipyards, in command centers and civilian shelters, a fire burned. It was a fire of determination, of defiance in the face of overwhelming odds. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, thrust into a war they didn't start but were determined to finish. The last hope of a ravaged galaxy now rested on the shoulders of a species that refused to go quietly into the night. Humanity was ready to fight, ready to prove that in their darkest hour, hope could be reborn from the ashes of trillions. The Tholian Armada's approach triggered a flurry of activity across Earth. In the EDF's primary command center, Thomas Hill's voice rang out clear and steady. Initiate Operation Aegis. This is not a drill. Across the globe, massive energy shields flickered to life, enveloping major cities and military installations in shimmering domes of protective force. In orbit, defense platforms maneuvered into position, their weapons systems primed and ready. Admiral Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the EFS Dauntless, Earth's most advanced battleship. He watched as his fleet took up strategic positions throughout the solar system, a mix of anticipation and dedication etched on his weathered face. Chen nodded, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. Let's hope we're ready enough. Back on Earth, Dr. Elena Volkov hunched over a microscope in her lab, her brow furrowed in concentration. For weeks she had worked tirelessly, fueled by a potent mix of caffeine and willpower. Now, as she examined the latest test results, a smile crept across her face. "It works," she whispered, then louder, "It works." Thomas burst into the lab moments later, his eyes wide with anticipation. "You're sure?" Elena nodded, gesturing to her data. "The vaccine successfully neutralized the Tholian bioweapon in all our animal trials. We need more time for human testing, but—" "Time we don't have," Thomas finished, his expression grim. He activated his comlink. "This is Hill. Begin mass production of the vaccine immediately, codename Phoenix Serum." As the first Tholian missiles streaked towards Earth, the planetary shields sprang into action. Massive energy barriers deflected most of the incoming projectiles, their detonations creating spectacular light shows in the upper atmosphere. But some got through. In a small town in rural Australia, a missile slipped past the defenses. It struck with a muted thump, releasing a cloud of sickly green mist. Within minutes, emergency response teams in sleek, silvery protective suits descended on the area, administering doses of the untested Phoenix Serum to panicked residents. Similar scenes played out on Mars and Venus, where fledgling colonies fought desperately against the Tholian assault. The vaccine's distribution became a race against time, with medical teams working feverishly to stay ahead of the spreading contagion. Amidst the chaos of Earth's defense, a new signal caught the attention of the EDF's sensor operators. A small fleet of alien ships, unlike any they had encountered before, approached from the outer solar system. Thomas, conferring with Laros, made a snap decision. "Captain Zara, your help is welcome. Please rendezvous with Admiral Chen's fleet near Jupiter." The addition of the alien survivors proved invaluable. Their advanced technology and intimate knowledge of Tholian tactics helped level the playing field, as Earth's combined fleet engaged the enemy near Jupiter's swirling clouds. Admiral Chen watched from the Dauntless as human and alien ships wove complex patterns through space, unleashing salvos of energy weapons and missiles. He had positioned his forces to use Jupiter's intense magnetic field to their advantage, disrupting Tholian sensors and communications. "Concentrate fire on their lead ships," Chen ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. "Don't let them regroup." The battle raged for hours, a deadly dance of light and destruction against the backdrop of the gas giant. Ships on both sides erupted into silent balls of flame, their crews lost in an instant. But slowly, surely, the tide began to turn. As the fleet fought in space, Thomas and Laros put the finishing touches on their audacious plan. In a secure hangar, a captured Tholian shuttle sat ready, its crystalline structure gleaming under harsh lights. "The bioweapon delivery systems are here," Laros explained, his crystalline form vibrating as he projected a holographic schematic. "Disable them, and you'll buy Earth precious time." Captain Zara, her iridescent skin shimmering, nodded in understanding. "And the intelligence we gather could be the key to ending this war." Thomas addressed the assembled strike team, a mix of Zara's alien crew and human special forces operatives. "You all know the risks. This mission is—" He was cut off by an urgent communication. Dr. Volkov's excited voice filled the room. "Thomas, you need to see this, the vaccine. It's doing something to our physiology, enhancing it." Before Thomas could process this new information, another alert blared. The tactical display shifted, showing a massive energy buildup in the Tholian fleet. "They're targeting the moon," an analyst reported, her voice tight with stress. "Readings suggest they intend to shatter it completely." Thomas's mind raced, calculating possibilities and consequences in an instant. He opened a channel to the EDF's chief engineer. "How quickly can we divert power from the planetary shields to a lunar defense grid?" As engineers worked frantically to establish the lunar defenses, the strike team boarded their stolen Tholian shuttle. Thomas watched them depart, a mixture of hope and apprehension churning in his gut. In orbit, the Tholian weapons powered up, their energy readings spiking ominously. Earth's hastily constructed lunar grid crackled to life, a thin line of defense against the impending assault. Admiral Chen's battered fleet regrouped, preparing for another engagement. The vaccine's unexpected enhancements began to manifest in human crews, their reflexes sharpening, wounds healing with startling speed. As the stolen shuttle carrying the strike team disappeared into the depths of space, Thomas turned his attention back to the looming threat. The fate of Earth, the Moon, and perhaps the entire galaxy hung in the balance. The Tholian onslaught continued, unabated and merciless, but humanity stood firm, ready to fight for their very existence. The stolen Tholian shuttle carrying Thomas Hill's strike team sliced through the void, its crystalline structure gleaming as it approached the massive Tholian command ship. Inside, tension coiled like a spring as the team prepared for their daring infiltration. Back on the Moon, energy weapons bombarded the hastily constructed lunar defense grid. Despite the immense power diverted from Earth's shields, the defenses began to falter under the relentless assault. Cracks appeared in the flickering energy barriers, each one a potential death sentence for the colonists below. On Earth, Dr. Elena Volkov oversaw the rapid distribution of her vaccine. Military personnel and civilians alike rolled up their sleeves, receiving injections that would not only protect them from the Tholian bioweapon, but grant them enhanced abilities they desperately needed. These enhancements proved crucial as Tholian ground forces breached Earth's weakened planetary shields. Major cities transformed into battlegrounds. In New York, enhanced human soldiers engaged Tholian shock troops amidst the towering skyscrapers. Energy weapons scorched the air, leaving trails of ozone in their wake. Captain Sarah Chen, newly promoted to lead a platoon of enhanced soldiers, crouched behind an overturned bus on Fifth Avenue. Her team's reflexes, sharpened by the vaccine, allowed them to dodge incoming fire with inhuman speed. "Rivera, on your 6!" Sarah shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. Private Rivera spun, his enhanced muscles carrying him clear of a Tholian energy blast that would have vaporized him moments before. He returned fire, his aim true, dropping the crystalline alien with a well-placed shot. Similar scenes played out in Beijing and London. Civilians fled through streets choked with smoke and debris as human forces mounted their defense. The vaccine's effects rippled through the population, granting strength and resilience to those fighting on the front lines. In orbit, Admiral Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the EFS Dauntless, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. The human fleet regrouped, preparing for a bold counterattack. As one, the human fleet surged forward. Their ship's energy signatures fluctuated in a complex pattern, creating an electromagnetic pulse that washed over the Tholian vessels. Alien systems sputtered and failed, leaving them vulnerable. The space around Earth erupted in a dazzling light show as human weapons found their marks. Tholian capital ships, their defenses crippled by the unexpected attack, exploded in silent bursts of flame and crystalline shards. "2 more guards ahead," Zara whispered, her iridescent skin shimmering as she consulted a holographic display. "Ready?" Thomas nodded, gripping his weapon tightly. They rounded the corner, their enhanced reflexes allowing them to take down the Tholian guards before they could even raise their weapons. As they neared the ship's central control hub, an unexpected ally emerged. A group of enslaved aliens, led by a towering reptilian creature, staged an uprising. The creature, who introduced himself as Cathor, turned to Thomas with gleaming eyes. With the Tholians distracted by the slave uprising, Thomas and his team reached the bioweapon control center. Laros immediately set to work, his crystalline form vibrating as he interfaced with the alien systems. "I've disabled the primary launch mechanisms," Laros announced, his voice tinged with urgency. "But a final salvo has already been fired towards Earth." Thomas's heart raced as he relayed the information to Admiral Chen. The human fleet pivoted, racing to intercept the deadly projectiles. Every ship capable of atmospheric entry dove towards the planet, their weapon systems locked onto the incoming missiles. On the lunar surface, Dr. Aiko Tanaka and her team of scientists made a startling discovery. As they huddled in a research bunker, monitoring the failing defenses, their equipment detected an anomaly. The team rushed to investigate, using their limited excavation equipment to uncover an ancient alien artifact. As soon as they exposed it to the lunar surface, the artifact hummed to life, pulsing with an otherworldly energy. A shimmering field expanded from the artifact, growing to encompass the entire moon. Tholian energy weapons splashed harmlessly against this new barrier, buying crucial time for Earth's forces. News of the discovery spread like wildfire. Human leaders and their alien allies pored over the data, recognizing similarities to legends and myths shared across multiple cultures. The implications were staggering. An ancient civilization that once stood against the Tholians might hold the key to humanity's survival. Back on the Tholian command ship, Thomas and his team secured vital intelligence from the vessel's databases. They uncovered the location of the Tholian homeworld and details of their empire's structure. Victory seemed within reach. But their elation was short-lived. A massive dreadnought emerged from hyperspace, dwarfing even the command ship. Aboard it was the Tholian Supreme Commander, the being known only as the Hive Mind. The Hive Mind's fury manifested as a devastating psychic attack that swept across Earth and its defenders. Those without Dr. Volkov's vaccine collapsed, their minds overwhelmed by the alien consciousness. In orbit, Admiral Chen gripped his command chair, fighting against the psychic assault. Half his bridge crew lay incapacitated, leaving the fleet in disarray. On Earth's surface, the enhanced human soldiers stood as the last line of defense. They watched in horror as the massive dreadnought approached, its weapon systems charging. Thomas Hill, still aboard the Tholian command ship, felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on him. With the intelligence they'd gathered and the discovery on the moon, humanity had a chance, but only if they could survive long enough to use it. As the Hive Mind's dreadnought loomed ever closer, Thomas knew that the next few moments would determine the fate of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. The final battle for survival was about to begin, and humanity would need every ounce of their newfound strength and alien allies to prevail. The Hive Mind's dreadnought filled the view screen, a crystalline behemoth that dwarfed even the massive Tholian command ship. Thomas Hill felt the psychic assault wash over him, a wave of alien consciousness that threatened to overwhelm his senses. But the vaccine coursing through his veins held firm, a barrier against the Tholian onslaught. "Status report," Thomas barked, his eyes scanning the captured Tholian systems. Laros, his crystalline form vibrating with tension, interfaced directly with the alien technology. "The Hive Mind's attack is incapacitating much of Earth's defenses, but I've found something, a weakness in their shielding matrix." Thomas leaned in, studying the holographic display. "Can we exploit it?" "Possibly," Laros replied, "but we'll need to get closer." On the bridge of the EFS Dauntless, Admiral Marcus Chen gripped his command chair, fighting against the pounding in his skull. Half his crew lay slumped at their stations, victims of the Hive Mind's assault. "All functioning ships," Chen's voice was strained but steady. "Initiate Operation Firefly, hit-and-run attacks just like we practiced. Keep that dreadnought occupied." Earth's remaining fleet sprang into action. Ships darted in and out of the Tholian formation, weapons blazing. Electromagnetic pulses disrupted Tholian systems, creating pockets of chaos in their otherwise ordered ranks. Meanwhile, in her underground laboratory, Dr. Elena Volkov pored over streams of data. Her eyes widened as she made a startling connection. On the lunar surface, Dr. Aiko Tanaka and her team worked feverishly to uncover the secrets of the alien artifact. Its pulsing energy had created a protective field around the moon, but Tanaka sensed it was capable of far more. As if in response to her words, the artifact hummed louder. Energy tendrils snaked out, linking to hidden nodes throughout the solar system. A vast network awakened, disrupting Tholian ships with increasing effectiveness. Aboard the captured Tholian shuttle, Thomas and his strike team approached the massive dreadnought. Cathor, the towering reptilian, stood at the ready, an improvised energy weapon clutched in his scaled hands. "We'll create a distraction," Cathor rumbled. "Give you time to reach the central chamber." They docked with the dreadnought, alarms blaring as they forced their way inside. The corridors were a maze of crystalline structures, pulsing with malevolent energy. Elite Tholian guards swarmed towards them, their weapons charged. Cathor and his liberated slaves sprang into action, drawing the guards' attention. Thomas and his core team slipped past, fighting their way deeper into the ship. On Earth, the ground war raged. In New York, Captain Sarah Chen led her enhanced soldiers through the ruins of Manhattan. A Tholian walker loomed ahead, its legs crushing abandoned vehicles. The soldiers moved with inhuman speed and precision. Jenkins and Peterson darted between buildings, drawing the walker's fire. Sarah and Williams charged straight ahead, leaping impossible distances. They scaled the walker's legs, planting explosives at key junctures before backflipping to safety. The walker collapsed in a shower of crystalline shards, but Sarah allowed herself only a moment's satisfaction. More Tholian forces approached, and the psychic pressure from the hive mind grew stronger with each passing second. Back on the dreadnought, Thomas and his team finally reached the central chamber. What they saw inside defied description. The hive mind was a writhing mass of crystalline tendrils and pulsating organic matter, connected to countless interfaces that stretched throughout the ship. As they entered, the psychic assault intensified. Thomas felt as if his skull would split open, but he forced himself forward. He activated the device Dr. Volkov had prepared, and a strange resonance filled the air. The hive mind recoiled, its attacks faltering. In that moment of weakness, Cathor lunged forward, his claws severing crucial connections between the hive mind and the ship's systems. Silence fell, broken only by the heavy breathing of Thomas and his team. Then chaos erupted across every channel. "The Tholian fleet, they're in disarray." Admiral Chen's voice crackled over the comm. "All ships, press the advantage." On Earth, Dr. Volkov activated a global broadcast. The signal from Thomas's device, amplified and modified, spread across the planet. Every vaccinated human felt a surge of power, their latent abilities awakening fully. Sarah Chen watched in awe as her soldiers began to push back the Tholian invaders with renewed vigor. In Beijing, enhanced civilians joined the fight, their newfound strength turning the tide. London's defenders created impromptu energy shields, repelling Tholian weapons fire with thought alone. On the moon, Dr. Tanaka's eyes widened as the artifact before her pulsed with blinding light. A wave of energy burst forth, racing across the solar system and beyond. Tholian ships sparked and went dark, disabled by the ancient defense network. Thomas stood over the incapacitated hive mind, his mind turning from the sudden silence. The constant psychic pressure was gone, replaced by a sense of vast possibility. "We did it," he breathed, looking at his battered but triumphant team. But as the adrenaline faded, Thomas realized this victory was just the beginning. The dreadnought's databanks held secrets beyond imagination, the preserved legacy of countless civilizations wiped out by the Tholians' Great Purge. As Earth celebrated its salvation, Thomas knew that humanity's true challenge lay ahead. They had inherited a shattered galaxy, filled with worlds to restore and ancient mysteries to unravel. The hive mind, now their prisoner, held knowledge that could reshape the course of history. Thomas opened a channel to Earth's leaders, his voice heavy with the weight of all they had learned, and all that was yet to come. "The Tholians are defeated," he reported, "but our work is not nearly finished." "Done," Thomas said, his voice filled with exhaustion and relief, "but our work is just the beginning." As the dust settled on their victory against the Tholians, humanity and their alien allies found themselves facing an even greater challenge, rebuilding a shattered galaxy. The captured hive mind held secrets that would reshape the course of history, and Thomas knew they had to act quickly to secure a lasting peace. In the months that followed, Thomas was promoted to admiral, a role he accepted with both pride and trepidation. He now led a coalition of human and alien scientists, all dedicated to unlocking the mysteries of the Tholian dreadnought and the ancient artifacts that had saved Earth. Dr. Aiko Tanaka stood before a holographic display of the solar system, her eyes alight with excitement. "We've done it," she announced to the assembled team. "We've reactivated the entire network." Thomas watched as points of light flickered to life across the display, each representing an artifact similar to the one they'd discovered on the moon. "And you're certain they'll protect us?" he asked. As Tanaka's team worked to secure the galaxy's future, Dr. Elena Volkov was focused on healing its past. In a sprawling laboratory complex on Earth, she pored over the vast database recovered from the Tholian ships. "It's all here," she murmured, her fingers dancing across a touchscreen. "Genetic samples, cultural records, even complete ecosystem data for thousands of worlds." Thomas stood behind her, his eyes widening as he realized the implications. "You mean we could bring them back? All the species the Tholians destroyed?" Volkov turned to him, a fierce tenacity in her eyes. "Not just could, Admiral, we must." Thomas stood on a viewing platform, watching a herd of graceful, six-legged creatures graze on luminescent grass. Beside him, Volkov consulted a datapad. "The Alari," she explained. "Once the dominant species of the Cygnus arm, the Tholians eradicated them 300 years ago." Thomas shook his head in wonder. "And now they live again." Volkov smiled. "Along with 17 other species, with more on the way. New Eden is just the beginning, Admiral. We'll restore as many worlds as we can." While some worked to resurrect the past, others focused on securing the future. Admiral Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the EFS Dauntless, now the flagship of a new interstellar peacekeeping force. Ships of various designs and origins surrounded his vessel, a testament to the diverse alliance they'd forged. "All ships report ready, Admiral," his first officer announced. Chen nodded, his gaze fixed on the starfield before them. "Then let's make history. Galactic Confederation Fleet, move out." As the newly christened Confederation began its first patrol, Laros worked tirelessly to help his fellow Tholians. In a specially designed facility, he moved from pod to pod, each containing a Tholian struggling to adapt to life without the hive mind's influence. Thomas placed a hand on the crystalline being's shoulder. "Your people have as much a place in this new galaxy as anyone, Laros. We couldn't have done this without you." On Earth, the changes were equally profound. The enhanced abilities granted by Volkov's vaccine had become a permanent trait, passed down to new generations. Thomas watched in awe as children levitated objects with their minds, or communicated telepathically across vast distances. "It's like we've unlocked something that was always there," Volkov mused as they observed a classroom of gifted youngsters. "The next step in human evolution, perhaps." The transformation extended beyond Earth. Cathor, the reptilian warrior who had fought alongside Thomas, now led efforts to recolonize his species' devastated homeworld. Human ships arrived regularly, bringing supplies, technology, and volunteers eager to help. "We owe you a debt we can never repay," Cathor rumbled as he and Thomas surveyed the progress of a new city rising from the ruins. Thomas shook his head. "We're all in this together now, old friend. Your people's recovery makes us all stronger." As the years passed, the galaxy slowly healed. Trade routes were re-established, cultures mingled and flourished, and the scars of war began to fade. The Galactic Council, established with help from Captain Zara and other alien allies, ensured cooperation between member species. On the 10th anniversary of the Tholian defeat, Thomas stood on the observation deck of Earth's new orbital station. Ships of every imaginable design filled the space docks below, their crews working together in harmony. A chime sounded, and a holographic display flickered to life. It showed a vast hall filled with representatives from hundreds of species, many of whom owed their very existence to humanity's efforts. As Thomas prepared to address the gathered delegates, he felt the weight of all they had accomplished and all that still lay ahead. The hive mind's warning of an extragalactic threat loomed in his mind, a reminder that their work was far from finished. But as he looked out at the bustling activity below and the sea of faces on the display, Thomas allowed himself a moment of pride. They had faced extinction and emerged stronger, not just as a species, but as a galactic community. With a deep breath, he stepped forward to speak, ready to lead humanity into the next chapter of their cosmic journey. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.